I don't have to know what I want before I start this journey. I said, absolutely. There's a big myth about readiness. Most owners are not ready to leave. Decide to add time into your equation. You're all of a sudden on this journey, and your ability to communicate, make commitments, the ability for the business to grow, all of those things are able to happen when you're on a journey.
Welcome to the Business Transition Roadmap. My name is Elizabeth Ledoux, and through my years, I have seen how communities thrive when business succession and transition are done well. Me and my team at the Transition Strategists have been helping business owners develop and implement transition strategies for over 30 years. And on this show, we want to help you by giving you the roadmap to a healthy business transition. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Business Transition Roadmap. Today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to do a solo episode with just me. And what I want to talk about today is the gift of not knowing. So what do I mean about the gift of not knowing? Every day, we don't know a lot of things. We think we do. However, really, if you think about it, we don't know what's truly going to happen in the next moment, in the next hour, in the next day. We just have some plans and some strategies of what we would like to have happen and what we believe to be true. So anyway, the gift of not knowing. I was on a meeting just a week or so ago with a person who I had talked to before, not a client, but potentially looking at doing some work around his transition. He's got one of his children in the business working currently, and he has a non-family member, an employee who is working with him also. So that's a little bit of the background. He's kind of a researcher, and so he has been doing some reading. He actually got our book called It's a Journey. And so he'd read through the book. He'd done some of the exercises in the book. He had spoken with me prior to that. And he'd really done a lot of thinking. So we were chatting, and I started to tell him a little bit about my story. And my story, just in a nutshell, quickly was that my team did a SWOT analysis, and one of the biggest threats they saw in the SWOT analysis was me being the sole owner and me not having any transition strategy whatsoever. So kind of what happens with the business and with their livelihood if something were to happen to me. So my quick story was I decided to do my transition roadmap. I did not have a successor in mind at the time, so no successor at all. And when I got that finished, about 18 months later, I met my successor. And what it did when I had it, I met my successor. We started down the journey, and we had an idea of how quickly we were going to move through things. And then what happened is she got pregnant. And so that kind of put, it was a little bit of a detour. It wasn't a bad thing. It was a great thing, but something that she really wanted in her life. And so we had a little detour. And in our transition strategy, we kept going. And then once we got through that, then we finished up our deal. So when I was telling him this story, the significance of it was he sat back in his chair and he looked at me and he said, so I don't have to know what I want before I start this journey. And to me, I thought that he would already know because of all the work that he'd done. So it kind of surprised me, those words. He said, so it's okay for him not to know. And I said, absolutely. I said, we don't know what's going to happen in our next moment in our lives, truly. So using the gift of not knowing in your journey, I think is of high value for you. The ability to use the gift of not knowing. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to get started. There's a big myth, I think, about readiness and needing to be ready to do something. So when we talk about transition work, most of our owners and founders that come through are not ready. They are not ready to leave. And most of the successors that come in are not ready to take over. They're nowhere near. In either case, transitioners still have a long way to go, and successors still have a lot to learn. So, if you think about this myth about readiness and what that really means, I think in business transition, there's a gift in not waiting until you're ready. There's a gift in embracing not knowing and using time to help you, because as you decide to add time into your equation, right, instead of making an event, as you put time into your equation, anxiety lowers because you're all of a sudden on this journey, and your ability to um, communicate, your ability to evaluate, your ability to make commitments, your ability to learn and to grow, the ability for the business to grow and develop, the ability for people to shift their thinking, all of those things are able to happen when you're on a journey, when you add time into your equation. So the idea of readiness, I think, is a myth, especially in transition. I think there's high advantage in deciding that it's okay not to be ready, that it's okay to go on this journey because you're going to be on it anyway. So why not do it with a little bit more intention and a little bit more communication, and throw in a lot more fun, and then it becomes a beautiful thing. So time is a huge aspect, and it's extremely powerful. The idea of having some kind of a roadmap in front of you where you can communicate that and be able to enjoy walking down this journey. And also, in my story, the ability to be able to pivot. It's so beautiful to have the opportunity to help somebody else in their life do both. So in my experience and in my story, not only was my successor able to have her daughter and enjoy that entire experience, she also was able to contribute during that time to our business, and we had the opportunity to learn to work together where we wouldn't have had that before. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. We also had the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into some of the conversations that we were having about being partners and what that really meant to us, and how we really wanted that to be, how we thought that would be terrific. And also, we talked about things that we didn't want, but we had a lot more time. So we were able to not only have that experience together, she had a family, her first daughter, and we also, though, were able to get our deal done at the same time. So neither one of us anticipated that at the time that we began, but we were able to navigate it extremely well and also put it to our advantage and see the gain in that. Many years ago, I was fortunate enough and took the time to be a student of Dan Sullivan and the strategic coach. And I carry this with me so often, is the idea of the gap and the gain. Entrepreneurial people, which business owners tend to be they tend to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurial people, they typically are wandering around thinking about the gap, right? The gap is what is not done. The gap is what we haven't accomplished. The gap is what isn't going well. And we forget to live in the gain sometimes. We forget to live in the pluses. Like, gee, over the year, maybe we didn't get completely where we wanted to go, but look at what we did do, because we're never going to hit our ideal. That just doesn't happen, or very rarely if it's possible. So, especially because entrepreneurs have such big ideas and the ideal is high. When you go through this transition work, making it a journey allows you, again, to put time into that equation. It also allows you to, I think, look at the gains and have gratitude in your world for those. Because as we have gains, we create confidence, say, in ourselves, but also in our successors. So instead of having doubts, we tackle those doubts through what's possible and how do we create the gain. We bite off too much for the first year or two, and usually our vision's not big enough for 10. The idea of not knowing, I want you to consider that and really embrace what that could mean to you. What could that mean for you to begin your journey of transition, knowing you're not ready to go, knowing maybe you don't even have a successor in mind, knowing that your successor, if you have one, has so much to learn and so far to go. And then use that lack of being ready, right? The gift of not being ready or not knowing, use that. And so use that gift of not knowing and use it to your advantage, because it is a tool that you have. You can start early. You don't have to know, and you can enjoy the journey along the way and do that. So I want you to think about what do you know? What don't you know and you're unsure of? And how could you use the gift of not knowing to your advantage and to the advantage of the business and your family and the community that you serve? So I think that transitioners wait and wait and wait and avoid because they don't know. I'd like to shift your mindset to that not knowing is a gift. So I would like to invite you to take just one step today. And I'd like to invite you to start to explore maybe what you don't know and what could be additive to some of your thinking as you begin this journey that you're going to take. And the one small step that I'd like to invite you into is to go onto our website and sign up for a discovery meeting. You'll be able to talk to one of our associates at our office at the Transition Strategists, and I will guarantee you that you will learn something that will help you in your journey. It's a no-charge opportunity, and I think that it's worth the time for you just to explore what you don't know. So I encourage you to take that small step and appreciate you being here. I hope that your gift of not knowing will be of high value to you as you go on this journey. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Transition Roadmap. If you're ready to start shaping your own transition strategy, which I'm really hoping that you are, our team at the Transition Strategists would love to offer you a free discovery strategy session where you can explore what might be good for you and just some new ideas. We've got a new perspective and a new approach with people first. And a lot of what we talk about, nobody has ever really done before. So I want to encourage you to think about that and to go to transitionstrategist.com/discovery to schedule your call if you are even curious. It's free. No pressure. We'd love to talk to you. And by the way, if you're a successor or if you've got one in your business, you'll also want to check out for sure Your Next Gen Friend, A Successor's Guide to Business Transition. It's a podcast that's hosted by my successor, Andrea Carpenter. She's incredible. And this one is specifically designed for rising leaders in family businesses. So thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on the Business Transition Roadmap.